All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of Just Ballin', and today I'm reacting to your guys' trades. So I've came up with a ton of trade ideas over the last few weeks, made countless videos, episodes here, just talking about my trade ideas. Today, I want to react to your trade ideas. So about 5 hours ago, I did a post on a community tab here on the Just Ballin' YouTube channel. Give me a trade idea for the trade deadline, and I'll react to them for a video. So 54 comments so far, so I do apologize if you commented after I went live. We're going to go through most of these, and I may just kind of throw some of them into fanspo, the ones I like the most that I haven't really thought about. But I do think there are some interesting ones that we're going to get through today. I'm sure there's going to be some joke ones. As I can see, the second one here is a joke, which hopefully will make me laugh too, because this doesn't have to be super serious. Let's just hop right into it. So first one comes from Hernan, and he mentions that there's a deal between Dallas and Portland, Denny Avdia or Toumani Camara, or if the dream can be real, both of them. Don't know how we get there, but Kamara is a great defender and a decent scorer. If not with Indiana, and a deal for Toppin and Aaron Nesmith. Now, you're not getting Denny Avdia unless you really blow them away. Denny's just under a great contract going forward. I believe Toumani Camara has been not like super available, but is available out there. I mean, what's so nice about Kamara is he's making $1.8 million on that round 2 contract, so you can really get there with anything. I mean, like, you would probably have to start off with Jaden Hardy, but do they want another guard? How many first-round picks can Dallas get rid of? They could trade their 2025 first. That's it. 2025 and 2031? Maybe they could move. I guess, yeah, you could do 2 first-round picks. I don't even know if this is going to go through or not. Of course, now that I'm recording. Okay, no, so it does go through. I think it would have to be something like that. I think Kamara just has too much value as a wing defender, and I could go through almost every single team, the Celtics, the Knicks, almost every single team competing for a title wants to add wing defenders, and I think they would just get outbid. That's probably where it starts, but you're gutting your draft picks for Kamara if you believe he's the missing piece. I did actually come up with Aaron Nesmith for my, one trade target for every team video on the Strauss channel for this team, because you can get there with the Gafford money like pretty easily. That could be like a straight swap, which could make sense for both teams. With Miles Turner being a free agent, they don't have a backup 5, but then Derek Lively gets hurt, so that's probably not going to happen. Now you can get there financially with Maxi Kleba or Klay Thompson as well, but if it's Maxi Kleba, it'd probably involve a first-round pick. I don't really know if Indiana would be interested in Olivier Maxence Prosper. We could go back to Jaden Hardy as well, something like that. But I do like the idea of Aaron Nesmith in Dallas. I think it makes sense around Luka as a 3-and-D piece. This one from XX says, I got a few trade ideas. He says, let's see what we got. The Warriors received John Collins, which I think is a good idea. I think they could definitely want to go after him. They've been linked to Nikola Vucevic a ton, and Collins is younger, maybe not as consistent of a shooter. The deal is going to send Gary Payton, Kyle Anderson, Kevon Looney, and some seconds to Utah. To be honest with you, I think Utah could need some veterans for sure, and I like Gary Payton, I like Kyle Anderson in Utah, but I think Kyle Anderson's contract is kind of looked at as a negative asset now since it has 2 years left after this year, and he's struggling to really be a mainstay in the Warriors rotation. I think some seconds would have to be like maybe a top 8 protected first round pick this year, top 10 protected first. So say everything still goes south, the Warriors don't make the playoffs. If they get lucky in the lottery, they still get their first, but if they make the playoffs with John Collins, Utah gets their first. I think that's the only way they would get that done, because I think Utah would prefer just to maybe let Collins walk in free agency and have open cap sheet instead of taking on Kyle Anderson's money. He mentions that the Rockets received Brandon Ingram, Pelicans received Cam Whitmore, Jock Lawndale, Aaron Holiday, Steven Adams, and Houston's first round pick next year. I don't hate that return for New Orleans for somebody that's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I don't think Houston will make that trade. I think they want to open up for a bigger name that becomes available eventually. Mavs received Chris Boucher. Raptors received Jaden Hardy and some seconds. I think, like, probably helps out the Mavericks this year. I know you're sacrificing a young asset in Hardy, but if they could bring back Boucher, I think that could be a really good backup center for them. And then they could trade Daniel Gafford for, like, a wing. Maybe it's a 3-team trade, and they get Boucher, Gafford goes to Indiana or some team like that, and the Mavericks can also get Boucher and, like, Aaron Nesmith. And then you have Jaden Hardy and some seconds going to Toronto. And that's with the Tim Hardaway Jr. trade exception. So I don't hate that idea. And the last one is the Pistons receiving Zion Williamson, Pelicans receiving Tim Hardaway Jr., Marcus Sasser, Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris, and some draft picks. That is a nice return for Zion, depending on what you want those draft picks to be. But yeah, I think Zion and Cade would be a very fun duo in the Motor City. I wonder if that would be a better spot for Zion, with obviously his issues off the court. Would that be fine in Detroit? Maybe. I think Detroit is turning themselves around to being a respectable franchise. I would try to maybe take out, I don't know. I think I'm okay including Isaiah Stewart in this deal, so I'm probably trying to take out Jalen Duren and putting in Isaiah Stewart. I would probably do that, honestly, if I were Detroit. If I'm New Orleans, I think you can maybe get something better, but I like the idea. Reborn says Atlanta gets, okay, we have a 3-teamer here. Atlanta gets Julius Randle. Minnesota gets Clint Capella and Simone Fontecchio. Detroit gets Larry Nance Jr. and a 2025 second-round pick. Honestly, this makes a ton of sense, at least on the surface for the Hawks, right? Jalen Johnson is out for the year. They don't own their first-round pick in this draft. That's going to the San Antonio Spurs, no matter if it's 1 or if it's 30. Why not get Randle for the cheap to help you win some regular season games? Because Jalen Johnson's out for the year. I think they couldn't look to add one of those pieces. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you give pick 14 to the Spurs. This is some of the aftermath from the DeJounte Murray trade. It's funny that this pick is from the Murray trade and Murray not even on the team anymore. That's how bad it was for Atlanta. I like that for Atlanta because you're really just giving up Clint, Nance, and a second. I think you run into some center depth there. Minnesota getting Capella and Fontecchio for Randle. I mean, it's something. Randle could be a free agent at the end of the year, but I think I'd rather just roll my dice with Randle. And Detroit getting Larry Nance Jr. in a second for Fontecchio, I would definitely do that. I think there's maybe a Minnesota-Atlanta trade you could work out. Say it was I don't know. If it was Nance and Bogey for Randle, I wonder if something like that could make sense for both teams. Next up, we have De'Aaron Fox and Trey Lyles to the Warriors for Wiggins, Kuminga, and 2 firsts. Now, that would work out financially, but the Warriors should not be going after De'Aaron Fox. He does not change their ceiling whatsoever, and I think you're running into the issue with him and Curry in the backcourt defensively. That's not going to work out well in the playoffs. And I think the Warriors, they're in a weird spot. I mean, I would trade Steph, but you shouldn't because he is the greatest Warrior of all time. So now you're trying to half go in, half not to win around Steph. I would be open to trading Draymond. I would trade Wiggins. I would try to hold on to Kuminga. Unless Kuminga can get you I think a Cam Johnson helps you out a little bit because he's under contract going forward. I just wouldn't trade for Jimmy Butler. Raptors get De'Aaron Fox. Oh, Kings get Emmanuel Quickley, Jacoby Walter, Kelly Olynyk, Indiana's first in 26, and then the Toronto first in 28. That's a little bit of a blockbuster right there. I haven't really thought about Toronto. I don't know if maybe Masai Ujiri and De'Aaron Fox have a good connection together, but you're return value, I would give that up if I'm Toronto to go to Fox. And now you're pairing up Scotty with Fox and RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl over there. Trading Quickly, hurts, but I'd much rather have player-wise Fox over Quickly, Walter, and Olynyk. You are moving 2 first. The only reason I would be a little skeptical about this if I'm Toronto is, would Fox even re-sign with you? And if I'm Sacramento, I don't hate this return. I just don't think Olynyk is much of a help for you right now. Quickly, you're pretty much buying low on him, I guess, in a way, but I don't really think you're not buying low here. You're just not getting great value for your star player, Fox. And Walter, he's going to have his growing pains. I don't know if I would do this if I was Sacramento. I would only do this if I was Toronto if Fox is willing to resign. If not, no. Chris Paul for Pau Gasol, yep, great trade. AJ Johnson and Brook Lopez for Miles Turner. If that was presented, I would so do that if I were Milwaukee, if Miles Turner would resign with you. But if not, that's scary, but I would still probably do it. If I'm Indiana, I'm not doing that, though. And I don't think we'll ever see those two teams make a notable trade. We have a 3-teamer here from More Chicken to Me. Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Trey Lyles, as the rumors suggest. The Kings are getting Brandon Ingram and DeJounte Murray and 2 firsts from the Spurs. Hello. Kind of like that. And the Pelicans are getting Keldon Johnson, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, and Trey Jones, and 3 first-round picks from the Spurs. So the Spurs are giving up 5 first-round picks here. Whoa. But they don't have to move Vassell, Sohan, or Castle. Yeah, that's got to be it. You're having one or the other. And I think, I don't know, if the Kings could somehow pivot Fox into Murray, Ingram, and 2 firsts, and you also have to give up Huerter and Zach Collins, or just Huerter, sorry, and Trey Lyles, I'm doing that. I am. If you can re-sign Ingram, I know Murray's not the perfect point guard in the world, but that helps you be competitive. And hey, you run out a Murray, Monk / Ellis, DeRozan, Ingram, Sabonis starting 5. You have your floor spacing issues 100%, but at least you got talent out there. At least you could still kind of compete for the playoffs. You re-sign Brandon Ingram. Maybe you try to see if a team would want DeMar DeRozan in the offseason, and I think you can actually rebound here. That's something I've suggested a ton. If the Kings do trade De'Aaron Fox, they need to some way or shape or form get Brandon Ingram at the deadline. I think that'd be a good fit. And the Pelicans here, Like you're moving Murray, which I don't think they're going to do this quickly. So I don't think the Pelicans would do this, but I think the other two teams would. Heat, Wolves, see you later, Randall. I mean, I thought about Jimmy to Minnesota a ton. Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson to Memphis for Zach Edey, Gigi Jackson in 2 seconds. Well, financially that wouldn't work out. I mean, that would be a great return for Brooklyn, but I don't think Memphis is willing to do that. I think Memphis, like I kind of want to do a sidebar here on Memphis. They fascinate me at this deadline because they are 31-16. I worry about their offense at times in the playoffs because Ja doesn't feel like he's Ja this year. And they have like Brandon Clark's $12 million, Kennard's $9 million, and Marcus Smart's $20 million. Now, Smart and Clark are under contract next year, so you can move them in the offseason. But I think they should try to maybe move this Luke Kennard thing. And he has an implicit no trade clause, I think, because it was like a 1-year deal. But like Jimmy makes sense, but it seems like Jimmy does not want to go there for whatever reason. I don't get that. I don't know why they don't maybe pivot to Levine. Now, you can become a second apron team with this, so that is something you worry about. But say you do Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, and John Conchar, and then we just did like, I don't know, who's the minimum here? Torrey Craig. We sent Torrey Craig to Memphis. This works financially. Where you do Smart, Clark, Kennard, Conchar for Levine and Craig. And I'm sure there'd be a draft pick or two in here. Maybe Vince Williams would be included in this trade. Definitely more appealing assets to Chicago. But I'd much rather trade for Zach LaVine or Brandon Ingram than Jimmy Butler. Like, I think Memphis should get in the Jimmy or the Ingram sweepstakes, but maybe New Orleans doesn't want to send Ingram to Memphis. But Memphis, man, they have a lot of young talent that intrigues me. Scottie Pippen Jr., maybe not as much Jay Huff, but Jake LaRavia intrigues me. Santi Aldama intrigues me. Zach Edey, Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, Jalen Wells. Like some of those guys are not trading, but I think they could make some moves, and they pretty much own all their first round picks going forward. So I think they're a really interesting team going forward. So I think they get the second best swap here. Or there's 4 swaps in this deal. Oh my God, my head is spinning. So it's between Phoenix, Washington, Orlando, and Memphis. Memphis, I know they don't get the last of it. I think Phoenix gets the last of it, but I think they should be in on one of those guys. Warriors get Jimmy Butler. Heat get Bruce Brown, Davion Mitchell. 1 Warriors first in 5 seconds. Raptors get Andrew Wiggins. I think that did come up in rumors lately. I like the idea of Andrew Wiggins in Toronto. I do. Canadian, I think, can help you out. Just getting another good player in that room and allowing them to go from Bruce Brown and Davion Mitchell to Wiggins, I think is a win. I mean, the Warriors, I think you have to include more in that deal. Like, that wouldn't work out financially. You'd still have to include, like, Kevon Mooney, Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, Kuminga, a couple of those guys. But if you're moving, like, I think I would go from, I just don't think I would trade for Jimmy Butler, actually. I just, like, save it to the offseason, see if you can do some sign and trade and get Brandon Ingram. I don't know why they don't get Brandon Ingram. I think that could help them out a ton. I mean, I know for the Warriors, like, Ingram's a free agent, but I mean, I don't know what teams are offering, and maybe the Pelicans think they could re-sign him, but he makes way less than Jimmy. He's almost 10 years younger. And I mean, like, I'm sure they'd be intrigued on, let's see, like Trace Jackson Davis, like some type of big man depth. Like, say we sent them, I don't know, Wiggins, Looney, and Trace Jackson Davis for Ingram, and you can re-sign Ingram. I kind of like that for Golden State. You don't really hurt too much of your depth because Kevon's a free agent. I mean, it hurts to move Trace Jackson Davis, who is a positive player on that contract, but I would do this trade, I think, if I'm Golden State, but it doesn't seem like they're interested in Ingram. Orlando gets De'Aaron Fox. Sacramento gets Gary Harris, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, and 3 first round picks, and 2 seconds. I like this for Orlando. I know they would run into a second apron thing if they make this trade because of Franz and Suggs' contracts kicking in next year. And Paolo's going to get one kicking into that 2027 season, and Fox is going to be a free agent at the end of next year. But I think this is a very intriguing deal because you don't really hurt your depth too much. Even with this trade, you still keep Tristan Da Silva, Jed Howard, all of your centers, and then you can make corresponding moves in the offseason. I like that for Orlando. I don't think I would do that if I was Sacramento, though. Robert Williams to the Rockets for Cam Whitmore, clean swap. I don't think Houston would do that. I think they can probably get Robert Williams for a little bit less than that. De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter to the Spurs for Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first round picks. I could, that's what I think it's going to cost. Like, I don't know. I think most of my Spurs Kings trade ideas, like saying that Castle may have to be in that trade, or Sohan, or Vassell, and Spurs fans are like, we're not trading any of those guys. Well, we could just sign Fox in 26. All right, well then you're not trading for Fox because I don't think they're selling him for pennies on the dollar. He's still under contract for another year and a half. And who knows? He could sign with a bunch of teams. He could get traded to Orlando or Houston or one of these teams and like it there, and you're going to miss out on De'Aaron Fox. I do think the Spurs don't have as much leverage as we think. I know we know that Fox wants to play there, but Fox also wanted to play, or excuse me, Donovan Mitchell wanted to play in New York or Miami. Now, I think Fox has willingly said that the Spurs are the only team he'd re-sign with. I'm not sure how much I'm buying that. Maybe that's the whole, like, Rich Paul motto, but I just find it hard. Like, I think if, like, Orlando's a good spot, Miami, like, he gets to live in South Beach, play with his college teammate Bam, I think that would be appealing for him. Colin Sexton to Orlando for Jett Howard, Cole Anthony, and a Denver first. I would do that if I were both teams. I think that helps out both teams. You're trading like the 25th pick in the draft, Cole Anthony and Jett for Sexton, who helps you out. Like this Orlando Magic team, one of the worst shooting teams we've seen in a while. Sexton helps you out there. You're a good defensive team, so you don't have to worry about Sexton's defense. And Sexton has 2 years left under your deal. You're getting a late first this year. Maybe turn around Cole Anthony's value or Jett Howard, give him some playing time. I like that trade for both teams. One too many cards. I think that's a win-win. Trae Young for De'Aaron Fox. All right, we got to turn off 2K. A-Trap says Warriors get Nikola Vucevic. Bulls get Gary Payton, Kyle Anderson, and a first. I think that's what it would cost them. I think you may have to throw in a little bit more. Like, I think Chicago would rather just move Vucevic in the offseason instead of, like, not getting a first-round pick for him now. Like, say, we pull up, what was the suggestion trade? Gary Payton and Kyle Anderson. Like, I don't think that gets there financially. Because I don't know. Maybe it does. It does not. We would have to add $2 million, which is not hard. You could throw in Windy Waters, right? Yeah. So you could do Windy Waters. You could do Gary Payton and Kyle Anderson and a first. I think if you make that first, like, top 10 protected, I don't know what the protections would be on it going forward, but say you do something like that, or yeah, top 10 protected. So if they don't make the play-in tournament, like, you lose the 14th pick, but at least you get Vucevic under contract next year as well. I think that makes sense for both teams. I do. He also mentioned Suns get Jimmy Butler, Kings get Bradley Beal, Heat get De'Aaron Fox. I'm sure there'd be some picks involved. Yeah, I don't really think that ends up happening. Hawks get Yusuf Nurkic, Suns get Clint Capella. I would do this trade if I were the Suns, but they may have to include a first-round pick in that deal because Capella isn't expiring and Nurkic has another year, and Atlanta doesn't have to commit to that another year, so they may ask for one of those first-rounders they got from the Jazz. Jonas Valanciunas to the Lakers for Vanderbilt and 2 seconds. I think that's a good trade for the Wizards. I do. If I'm the Lakers, though, I'd try to hold off on that and see if you can get a better center for Vandy in the seconds, because you're selling extremely low there. Jonathan Kuminga, Kyle Anderson, and Buddy Hield for Vucevic in a first. We kind of just talked about that one. And then Andrew Wiggins, Windy Waters, and Dennis Schroeder for Jimmy Butler. I mean, I think that helps out the Miami Heat, and I think that's all they would get. I mean, does that work financially? Wiggins, Schroeder, and Waters? I don't think it does. Let me see. It was what? Waters. Oh, yeah, because Schroeder could be moved, I think, soon. Because they had to wait a couple days after they traded for him. Sorry, my fanspo's just, like, bugging out here. I do not want to send Draymond Green in this trade. It's going to be Windy Waters, Dennis Schroeder, and Andrew Wiggins for Jimmy Butler. How far off? Yeah, it doesn't, you have to cut 7.5. All right, so you could do, like, Looney in this trade. Because that's an expiring as well. Like, I think that's, this doesn't even work. Oh, yeah, because Dennis Schroeder can't get moved till the 15th. I thought it was earlier than that. Because he can't get aggregated. Yeah, that makes things really complicated for a Schroeder deal. I guess he can only be traded in like a 1-for-1, which is kind of crazy. Fox to the Lakers. Rich Paul wants him there. I mean, I think the Lakers could actually offer an appealing package. I haven't really brought them up as a team because it looks like they want a big man. And I also think Sacramento would never trade Fox to the Lakers. There's too much bad blood there. But say we did do that. I mean, Austin Reeves has to be on the table. I would say Hashimura is going to be on the table. And I would say either one of Max Christie or Dalton Connect has to be on the table. We'll do Dalton Connect. And then you also have to include the 2029 unprotected first and the 2031 unprotected first. And then, honestly, probably a 2030 swap as well. Like, say we did something like that, it would be... you'd have to cut $1 million from the Lakers. So you'd have to add even like just a minimum contract there. Maybe Gabe Vincent's in this deal. I mean, if you think that really gets you over the hump, I don't know. I think we have to hold off on the Fox value a little bit. I think that wouldn't be wise for the Lakers. OKC trades Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, Ousmane Dieng, and a couple firsts to get John Collins from Utah. I kind of like them going after Cam Johnson instead, but it really seems like the Thunder are going to stay pat at the deadline, which I don't really get. I think like now's the time. Your team's going to get very expensive next year when Caruso's extension kicks in. I mean, J-Dub and Chet are still playing under their rookie deals, but the following year, rookie maxes are kicking in. Shea's got a super max on the horizon. You're going to still have to pay Hartenstein next year. I think I would go all in. I would. And like, that's not even going all in. That's trading like end of the rotation guys. I know moving Isaiah Joe hurts, but you're not really missing Kenrich Williams or Ousmane Dieng, and you already have all these draft capital like you do. And it looks like you hit on the AJ Mitchell pick. You still have Nikola Topic waiting in the wings. I think you could sacrifice some depth there to do a 3-for-1. John Collins to the Warriors for Kuminga, healed in the second round pick. I don't think Golden State should do that. I don't think they should move Kuminga in a John Collins deal. Maybe a Zach LaVine deal, not a John Collins deal. Walker Kessler to the Celtics for Jaden Springer and a 27 first. I propose Kessler as like a pipe dream trade target for the Celtics. Danny Ainge wheeling and dealing with his whole team. NBA may have to step in there, make sure there's no collusion. But it would cost you 2 first-round picks. And I think it would probably cost you Bale or Shireman. I don't know. I don't know who has more value because Shireman is already like 24 years old. But yeah, Boston would have to include probably their 2025 first. They honestly may have to include like 2 firsts in a swap for Kessler because I don't think Utah's really getting much there. Celtics are going to be good. Those picks are going to be late anyway. Like that 30th pick in this draft is basically a second rounder, or the 28th pick. Wild 14 trade from Fritz Dwayne. He mentions that the Nets are getting Trey Lyles, Cole Anthony, Jed Howard, 2025 first via Denver from Orlando, and a couple seconds. Kings are getting Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, and 3 first. Spurs get Fox, Magic, and Cam Johnson. I think there's a Nets Magic Cam Johnson trade that doesn't really have to involve the Kings and the Spurs, and I think the Kings are not getting nearly enough. Like 3 first from San Antonio, who and they get their first back in 2031. Trey Jones, Branham, and Keldon Johnson are not the valuable players. I'd rather just hold on to Fox until the offseason. Jaden Springer for De'Aaron Fox, I think, yeah, that happens, right? Brandon Ingram for Julius Randle. Yeah, let's get Julius Randle back in New Orleans. I think if this trade happened, which I don't hate the idea of Minnesota getting Brandon Ingram, I do worry a little bit about him and Ants fit together. I don't know. I think you would have to like it works out. I mean, Minnesota is a second apron team, so they'd have to make another corresponding move. But I feel like if I'm New Orleans, what does Julius Randle get me? He's a free agent as well at the end of the year, at least has the player option. I'm probably asking for Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, or Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr., like a couple of those guys, and I don't know if they would do that. Probably not. And then the last one we have here from Lorenzo Flores. It's a 5-teamer, or is it? Yeah, 5-teamer. It's basically getting Cam Johnson, John Collins, and just 2 first-round picks to the Kings. Spurs receive Fox and Pirtle. All right, Kings are immediately saying no to that. But good trade for the Spurs. Raptors receive Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, and a first-round pick. Nets are receiving Bruce Brown and 2 first-round picks. How are the Nets getting more first-round picks in this deal than the Kings? And then the Jazz receives Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, and a first. Yeah, I don't think the Kings would do that. So, I don't know. Like, I'm going to be doing, like, more videos on the Stars channel, basically giving you guys my final trade deadline predictions. I'm going to come up with one trade idea for every team on that channel as well, so you can be on the lookout for that. I just wanted to see something here. If I went to the trade, yeah, like, here are the, this is NFL. Give me to the NBA. Like, the most popular guys on the trade thing. Can I see this here? De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy. Yeah, you have Kevin Huerter, Keldon Johnson, Zach LaVine. I hope that we get at least, like, a Jimmy Butler trade at the minimum. And if LaVine and Fox happens more so in the offseason, I hope we get a Vucevic trade. I hope we get a Cam Johnson trade. I hope we get maybe a Brandon Ingram trade, right? Like, we should, unless they really think they can get something in the offseason. I still feel like we're going to get Brandon Ingram to the Bucks is like a sneaky team. And I like that. And I propose that going into the year as well. Like I said, they're going to have to make a corresponding move to get them under the second apron. So Pat Connaughton would go somewhere else. But it basically Ingram from Middleton, who's got 1 year left on this deal. I assume AJ Johnson would be in this trade. And I assume that unprotected Bucks pick in 2031 would have to be in this deal. And then you hope that you can re-sign Brandon Ingram. This wouldn't work right now because of the second apron, but I do think this is a trade to monitor. And I'm very excited for this deadline. I think there's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of fun ideas. I think if a De'Aaron Fox trade happens, like, that's going to be a really cool one and a really interesting one to dive into. The Jimmy Butler one, I have no idea what to expect. I'm just ready for this to be over. I like how I threw a second round pick in here, not the first. But yeah, either way, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, me reacting to your guys' trade deadline trades. If you did enjoy this, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.